By now, the term fake news is old news. But that doesn't make its threat any less real or likely to stop the sharing of misinformation and lies. Fake news is dangerous because it spreads false information, but it also undermines our democracy, which includes our right to a free and legitimate press. Through media literacy, we can identify and undermine the dissemination of fake news on social networking sites. First, I will examine how easily fake news spreads on social media, and then I will relay the crucial rules for the personally responsible reading of news. To conclude, I will develop the responsibility of the platforms themselves and the development of critical thinking in defeating fake news. But first, you may be wondering, how did we even get to the proliferation of modern fake news in the first place? Page 300 of Chapter 12, dealing with fake news on social networking sites, describes how digital technology has created more media than ever before, and how individuals are now able to disseminate whatever content they've created. Every time a new consumer joins this media landscape, a new producer joins as well, because the same equipment, phones and computers, lets you consume and produce, says digital journalism professor Clay Shirky. This is called disintermediation, or the elimination of gatekeepers between content producers and audiences, where users are free to create and distribute content without editorial oversight. Disturbingly, people will pass on fake news easily, even if they know it's false. During the effort by Russian operatives to undermine American democracy throughout the 2016 election, Facebook users were 2.5 times more likely to read fake news than accounts from reputable journalism sites, and more likely to share it, even if they knew it was untrue. However, just because fake news is easily created and posted on social networking sites doesn't mean we have to fall prey to the disinformation presented. We need to exercise personal responsibility in making our own editorial judgments when confronted by fake news. Journalist Nick Robbins-Early offers several rules for personally responsible reading of news on social media. First, we need to read past the headline of any article because fake news publishers will tack reasonable-sounding headlines onto stories with obviously false information contained inside. Secondly, we should always verify the outlet that published the story. Don't trust sites that use dramatic punctuation or all caps, and check out other stories they've published, as well as web addresses, to make sure it's from a legitimate news organization and not a hoax site. Sometimes fake news sites will recycle old items as breaking news, so check the published date and time. While you're at it, determine the author of the article by doing a simple Google search. This will reveal other work from a legitimate journalist or the source of hoaxes. Look at the links and sources used, because if they're lacking entirely, chances are the information that's given is false. If there are links, check them. Many hoax sites provide links with themselves as the sources. Also, be on the lookout for questionable quotes and photos. If you're unsure about the legitimacy of a photo or you suspect it's been altered, perform a reverse image search through Google or use tools like TinEye to find where the image originated. It's also crucial, though sometimes difficult, to beware of confirmation bias. We're naturally drawn to stories that reinforce our worldview, and fake news preys on the knowledge of these biases. It helps to search whether other reputable news outlets are reporting on the topic. Harvard Summer School suggests fact-checking information with websites like Snopes or PolitiFact that are designed to do precisely that. And finally, think before you share. Social networking sites are designed so that sharing is just one click away. So if you value your citizenship and role in democracy, it's essential that you regard honesty as your personal responsibility. Many would argue that individuals shouldn't be solely held accountable for the sharing of fake news. A lot of people say that social media platforms themselves should be vetting sites and articles. The New York Times discusses the responsibility of social media platforms in verifying and controlling the proliferation of news on their own sites, though the job is a lot tougher than it would seem. Emphasizing sources on platforms like YouTube had no impact on whether people believed or shared the news. General warnings about the existence of fake news also led more people to distrust the news in general. I believe in the importance of publishing for scientific and evidence-based approaches to combat fake news, while recognizing the importance of developing one's own critical thinking skills and those of our children. If you're searching for legitimate news, don't turn to social networking sites. These platforms are for connecting with others, not ensuring that you're receiving fact-based and fact-checked information. Let legitimate and reputable news sites give you news, and social networking sites like Facebook and Instagram be for social connection. As you can see, there are more ways than one to combat the spread of fake news. Through media literacy, we can identify and undermine the dissemination of fake news on social networking sites. Now that we understand the ease in which fake news spreads on social media, we can use critical rules for personal responsible reading of the news. And finally, we can hold social media platforms responsible for their duty in preventing fake news and foster critical thinking within ourselves. It's likely that fake news will always be a part of modern media, but we can let today be the last day that it has to fool us.